oh my gosh. Thank goodness you
Thank
told me
you.
that.
Yes.
I had no idea. That's fine.
All right. Yay. You guys don't want to disagree with me because I'm the boss, but it's okay. And you're not going to win me over. Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Allie.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I am your host, Allie. We are here for another Mega Sevens episode. Today, we are playing with the bashfulest of them all. I am so excited for this one. I'm here with LJ and Becki.
Hello.
Hi, ladies.
And, you know, the reason I'm really excited about this episode, we make it very clear on this show all the time that yes, all of your podcast hosts are travel agents. It's what we do. It's our job, but we also talk about a lot of other stuff on this show as well. And today I really feel like I'm stepping into my travel agent shoes and letting listeners know these are the things you're bashful about asking. You know, what don't you know that you should know and you don't know you should know, you know? And these are the things that if you don't know them, in my opinion, it could really dampen your trip. It could ruin things if you don't know how to do some of the things, at least that I put on my list. And just as we did with some of the other episodes that have already aired previously, we all kind of have our list of what we think the top 7 things you need to know, but may be too bashful to ask on our list. And we're going to try to compile the best 7, the top 7 things you need to know ahead of travel that you may be bashful about.
I think it's really cool also to see how sometimes us as travel agents, we think we know it all and we will learn something new. And so I think that's an extra layer to this episode in general is we have a lot of Disney, quote, experts who follow along with us and playing along to see if these are things that you too know about, or maybe they could learn something as well.
Absolutely. That's how I feel about it as well. This is totally a fun episode, but such a learning episode as well. This is the one you want to put in your back pocket and before every trip be like, okay, what are those things I need to remember again?
Yep. For me, I felt like the concept at first when you said the bashfulest, it was tough for me. So I was like, what are we talking about? And I think when you explained it as the things that you're a little bit scared to ask, like, I don't know what they're talking about in the big group when they say, you know, BBB, ADR, those types of things. And I feel like this is the episode that's like, if you're a beginner, these are the things that you absolutely cannot miss. You can't get these wrong.
Exactly. This is the stuff that if you miss it, it could really ruin everything, right? I mean, nothing's
Yes.
going to ruin your trip, but it's going to lessen some aspect of it. And you're right. These are the things when I was making my list, you said the big group, LJ, and for you, you're referencing our community on Facebook, Smart Moms Planning Disney. And there are so many, hundreds of thousands of people connecting in there daily and commenting towards one another and asking questions. And you may be that person that's planning your trip for your family and somebody makes a post and everybody's commenting like they know exactly what the original poster is talking about. And you're sitting there behind your screen thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so underprepared. I'm overwhelmed and underprepared and I don't know what I'm doing. So that's the angle I took when I was making my list. And I'm excited to hear what's on yours because we all have different perspectives from interactions we may or may not have had. Before we begin, I need to remind our listeners once more that as we're making our way through these Mega 7 episodes, we will land finally on our dopiest of them all. And that's where we will need your help. We have our form in our bio, on our social medias. You can find it lots of places where you can find us. You can be involved in the conversation. The dopiest of them all, we want to hear about a mistake that you made either while planning or on your Disney vacation. Share it with us. Maybe we'll share it on air here when we're recording that episode. And what's funny is those mistakes that you're going to share with us, maybe you wouldn't have made them if you had this episode beforehand. Okay, we're going to jump right in. We are going to try to make our list here. Not try, we're going to succeed in making our list. But there are so many important things that I think it might be a little difficult to whittle it down. Do you want me to go first today or does somebody else want to share first?
No, go ahead, Allie.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there are a couple really important things on my list. I'm going to start with one. It's kind of several things in one, but these days I think it's the most confusing and difficult part of planning Disney. And so that's why I want to open with it. And I'm going to say there's 3 parts to this. Number 1, most bashful thing that you may be intimidated or scared to ask is going to be Genie Plus. And with that, LL, ILL, and every acronym of ride and attraction that may fall under it. So Genie Plus is Disney's ride skipping service, and it, quite frankly, is extremely confusing. We obviously did an episode here on the show about navigating Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes and understanding it. But to be honest, this is a service that evolves all the time. The price changes all the time. At this point, it's daily. It changes daily. And it's had several versions of itself since being introduced nearly 2 years ago. It has lightning lanes and individual lightning lanes, which are not the same thing and are abbreviated to LL and ILL. And then all of the headliner attractions also can answer to an acronym that are probably important for you to know ahead of your travels.
Well, one, that is number one on my list as well, because it's the thing that people ask me about most often. I also included in that list not just those three, but I also threw in their virtual queue, because that's another piece of that. How do I be in line for rides? Like, I don't just go stand in line. Like, what does that even mean?
Exactly. And if you get there to Disney World and you don't know how to get a virtual queue and you don't realize that it's a thing, you may not ride Guardians of the Galaxy. It may not
You're
happen
in
for you.
trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Yes. And, if you don't, how do you know about it beforehand? Well, these are the things that are making our list today. So Genie Plus has lightning lanes, LL, individual lightning lanes, ILL, and virtual queues, VQ. And what does all of that mean?
Well, I was just going to say, I think you guys nailed this as the number one thing. There's no argument at all. It has to be the first. It's the thing that, like, if you get it right, it can make the biggest positive impact in your trip. If you are just sailing through and not waiting in line after line after line, and if you get it wrong, you're going to be standing in that standby queue forever. And you don't know why. You don't understand. I know they don't, because you can hear them in the queue as you're walking by.
Yeah.
You can hear them saying, how do they get in that line? How do I, like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, just book with a travel agent. Your travel agent is going to make sure that you're in the fast line.
Yeah, I've actually had people, I'm scanning in, let's say for my flight of passage, individual lightning lane, because that's when you purchase outside of Genie Plus. And I had someone standing at the scan-in queue, just so sad because the wait was 2.5 hours long. I'm scanning in. I know I'm going to be on in 10 minutes. And they're saying, well, how do I get that? And the cast member said, well, we're out for the day. And this poor family was standing there and they were like, this is our only day here. So we either wait 2.5 hours or we're out of luck. Like, that's it. And the cast member unfortunately has to say, yes, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that. I don't want to call it the walk of shame, but I kind of sometimes get that feeling when I scan into Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, because you walk along that whole winding line as you're going in and you see them. They're giving you that look like,
Mm-hmm.
how are you over there?
Right?
Exactly. So
and it's not that hard. It's really not that hard to just use Lightning Lane and skip the lines, and to not be in that position where you're like making the decision of, do I want to stand here for an hour or do I want to not ride this? That's a really tough place to be in. And you don't have to be there.
No, you don't. And so just to make this super clear for listeners, because this is definitely on the list, this makes the 7 for sure. Genie Plus is a service you purchase inside your app to gain access to the Lightning Lane, which will be abbreviated LL, and it will cover several rides, shows, and attractions throughout all 4 of Walt Disney World's theme parks. It will not cover one attraction in every park, and that attraction does rotate. It changes. It stays the same for a while. Right now, Magic Kingdom actually has 2, and you can find out which ones of those are by finding the ILL next to it from within your Genie Plus, and those attractions cost money outside of Genie Plus. And then the virtual queue attractions are going to be the ones that you join in the morning before you're heading to the park. You have to set an alarm. And if you really want a further breakdown, you can refer back to our Navigating Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes episode here on the pod. We talk about virtual queues as well. But just know ahead of your trip, this is a conversation you have to be having with your travel agent, anybody you're traveling with, because this is a make or break thing.
Yeah, and it is something that will add to the cost of your end game of your budget. So just be aware.
But budget it in.
But for me, I feel like it's something that costs so little for gaining so much. Like, you're already spending a pretty good chunk of money on this trip. I don't think this is the place to like stop and say, I don't want to spend any more money. Like, just go ahead, spend it, and then, worry about your budget in some other area.
I agree. Okay, that's on the list for sure. Becki, you give us one.
All right. So Disney, you're thinking rides. And so while Genie Plus, Lightning Lane, all of those things have to be on our list. Something else that I get a lot of questions about is I'm going with a teenager and a little, or I'm going for the first time with my 3-year-old. Am I going to be able to ride those other rides? And so how do you navigate rides with different size kids or little kids, specifically targeting single rider lines, child swap, what all of those options look like for families?
I sort of have this on my list. I have it balancing and choosing which parks and attractions, because I feel like that encompasses so much. Which park are you going to at what day of your trip and that type of thing? And which attractions, like you cannot do all of Disney World. Like you can't do it, y'all. Like you can't. You can't do it in a week. You can't do it in 2 weeks. You can't do it in a month. You are not going to do everything. So like having that time beforehand to look at what each one is and planning that out. And this is another place that your travel agent can come in very helpful, because you guys can say to your clients, how old are your kids? Okay, these are the attractions that I would do. And that saves the client from needing to look at all of the options and to make a plan for themselves. So that's what I have that goes along with yours.
And I think they're nicely merged. Becki, this is such a good one. I can't believe I left this off my list. I think that was just negligence on my part. I could definitely either combine or boot one of mine. I'm not sure, but rider swap and understanding that, and to LJ's point, strategizing where it's going to be necessary. That's a big deal that most families don't even realize is a thing. So rider swap is where listeners know I have an older daughter and then younger twins. And so my daughter happens to be really tall, and then my twins happen to be pretty short. And so there are a lot of things that we're not all riding together as a family. So what we will do is access and utilize this rider swap, which is so incredible. If you scan in with a cast member before you get in line, let's say I take my older daughter on the attraction, we either wait in line or have a lightning lane, either way, and we ride. We'll just go back to Flight of Passage. My brain is there this morning. So we ride that. My twins are too short. They're getting tall enough to ride most things now, but we know ahead of time that Flight of Passage, they're just not quite there. And then when we get off the attraction, my wife has been back with my twins. Then she and my older daughter get to scan in. And regardless if my daughter and I waited in the entire standby queue or used a lightning lane, my wife and daughter are going to get to use the lightning lane, because you don't have to stand in line twice. My daughter will only have to stand in line once. We can scan bands ahead of time, and then a second adult can ride with the kiddo that's tall enough. And you do the whole thing pretty quickly. You eliminate a dual wait time and everybody gets to ride.
I also want to pair with that, though, that it's not always about a kid being tall enough. Like my son is 13 and he hates upside down roller coasters. And so for the longest time, he refused to go on Rock and Roller Coaster because he went one time, it went upside down, it made him sick, all of those things. And so he wants to sit off. And so in that situation, if you had one kiddo who was could be too short to go on a ride or doesn't want to go on the ride, utilizing that single rider line is another way to have those rides happen quicker without individual people having to wait in line multiple times.
I'm so glad you said that. I never look at it with that perspective, because my kiddos are 3 little daredevils, and we just right now are staying off because they're not tall enough. But I'm excited for the day that we all can. I didn't even put into perspective that, yeah, this is for anybody that just doesn't want to ride. Disney is so inclusive, and they're not going to be telling you no under these circumstances. So this is so funny, because we disagree a lot on this show because we all have different Disney perspectives. Although I think the 3 of us are pretty aligned in a lot of things, I think we're going to agree on most things today.
I agree. I think the only thing that we might argue about is that I feel like there's kind of a lot more than 7 that like things that you need to get right. And I just feel like it's like, what are like the top 7? And I think it's great that this show is going to live on forever and going to be something that we can share and share and share, because we're going to talk about all the things, whether they make the list or not. So I think we're going to be in good shape.
Oh, LJ, you should have seen my list. When I was very first planning this out, it was probably 2 full pages of things that I need everybody to understand. Like, oh.
Yeah, and that's why we have the standby queue. We're going to put things in the standby queue, and we're going to talk through them all and try to come up with the top 7. But here's the thing. Disney is confusing. That is what is true. and we are going to do our best to untangle it. And I'm going to get creative and probably combine some things.
Yes, we can do it.
Okay, LJ, you are up. Tell us what do you have?
Okay, I think that one of the biggest make or break situations is crowd avoidance. Like if you are at Disney and it is packed, it's not going to be fun. I'm not saying that you can't go during the busiest times and still have a good time, because there's ways to avoid the crowds even during the busiest times. But I am saying that if you are in Main Street and it is shoulder to shoulder and you literally can't like make a step without like, maneuvering, and I've been there when it's been like that, it's just not a good time. The ways that you want to avoid the crowds, first, if you can, you want to go at the right time of year, and you want to avoid like the spring break, the week of Thanksgiving, the week between Christmas and New Year's, if you can. Now, if you can't, we have some other episodes where we talk specifically about what to do if you have to go during a busy time. But if you have the flexibility, don't go during those times. Then second, like once you've narrowed down what time of year, it's time to look at like which month to go and which week inside the month. And then it's even further, you can narrow it down to like which days you should actually schedule your vacation. Now, a lot of people are just like, I have a whole week off work, so I have from that Friday when I get off my job to the next Monday morning when I need to be back at my job. And then you also want to look at which parks you should go to on which days to avoid the crowds, because it's like Saturday, Magic Kingdom, gonna be packed. Same with Sunday. The further you get away from the weekends, like a good Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're gonna start seeing Magic Kingdom be lower in crowds. And there are other parks that will always sort of be mirroring with, Magic Kingdom's up this day, but Animal Kingdom's down. Looking that over and deciding what days you're doing what parks, to me, is like the biggest thing. And this is another thing that your travel agent can do for you. You're going to say, these are the days that I'm going to be at Disney. What days should I do what park? And your travel agent has the resources to go look at the crowd calendars and be like, I think you should do Magic Kingdom this day, Animal Kingdom this day, Hollywood Studios this day, Epcot this day, and your second Magic Kingdom day this day. And it's going to make a huge, huge, huge difference for you.
So I agree with everything you said. I think all of those points are really important, and it's good to try. My only hesitation with making it a top 7, and tell me what you think, is that we talked a lot about Genie Plus, and for me, that's Disney's like solution to crowd avoidance, because I'm of the mindset that go to Disney regardless if spring break is your only week you have available, because it's going to be miserably crowded, but then use your resources that you may not know about, like Genie Plus, to make it a little softer. Does that make sense?
And you're not going to win me over. It is of the things I have on my list, crowd avoidance is the number one thing that like your overall trip, like just gliding through the park, not needing to be elbowing people. There's people in your way and the lines are so long. And it's, to me, like, it's not that difficult to do, and it will save you every single time. This is like you and me arguing about Polly. Like, you're not going to convince me. I'm not going to convince you. It's okay. We're still friends.
Yeah. It's okay to disagree. Becki, what do you think?
I was thinking, okay, first, Disney has a service called Genie that's not Genie Plus, that's in your app, that can help avoid some of the crowds, like it's pulling you. Did either of you ever use My Pal Mickey at Disney?
Never.
Nope.
You never heard of it? We
No.
were just talking to my kids about it. It was a Mickey Mouse stuffy that would kind of give like the Mickey Mouse a laugh and then be like, hey, did you know there's a parade starting in 5 minutes on Main Street? And it is like the early 2000s version of the Genie service that's telling you what rides you could go to avoid lines right now. I think that Genie service in particular is something that a lot of people overlook in avoiding lines day to day. It's not the Genie Plus, it's Genie. And if you put in things that you want to do, it will help strategize avoiding those crowds within your park day.
Have you ever used the Genie?
Me? Yeah, I have. Yeah.
LJ, have you?
No, I don't use the stinking Genie. I think I don't know. Like, but that's the thing, is like, I'd rather manage it from a global level and be like, I'm just not going to go on a day. Like, I'm going to pick my days a little bit better so that I don't have to worry about that. That's my goal.
In this same conversation, something else that I'm thinking of is I've actually really appreciated the piece of knowing where the crowds are based on where park reservations are available, right? If Magic Kingdom is blacked out, I don't want to try going there. It's going to be super busy. What's that going to look like come January when not everybody has to have a park pass anymore? And And what's that going to do to crowd calendars? And it's going to be an interesting evolution.
Okay, so
I
where
don't.
do we put this? Do we put this on or do we put this in standby?
You guys don't want to disagree with me because I'm the boss, but it's okay. You can.
No. Are you kidding? I already did disagree with you. I'm waiting on Becki to tie break.
Honestly, when LJ said crowd, avoiding the crowds, I literally started shaking my head like, oh, yeah, that is a big deal.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fine.
All right. Yay.
That's fine. It'll go there. It's fine. That's fine because I'm going to give my next one. And this one I also believe is super important. And I'm going to give the acronym because I think listeners need to know the acronym and then we can say what it is. But this is going to be ADRs.
It's on my list.
It's on my list too.
It has to be, right? And this is a funny one because if you don't know about it, you're going to be a mess when you get on your trip. ADR stands for Advanced Dining Reservations, which we talked about a ton on our dining episode. And Disney Dining and Enchanting Extras, it's actually ADR stands for dining, but it also is the day for your Enchanting Extras. And I am going to go ahead and combine one of my things on my list because we put crowds on the list. I know not everything's going to make it. So I'm going to go ahead and get creative here. First of all, dining is so important. You can do it when you are an on-site guest 60 days out from your check-in. And let me tell you that if you want a really popular dining experience, let's say Space 220, you better believe that it's going to be booked up in the earlier days of your trip, right? Because people who are checking out on your first day have been booking that day for a while, right? Because you can book 60 days from your check-in plus an additional length of 10 days. So you can strategize and say, I really want to eat at Space 220, but I need to do it really toward the end of my trip as far out as I can to have the best chance. So understanding what ADR is and then understanding how to strategize what to get is so important. There are also acronyms for different meals and experiences. Things like BBB. Do you all know what BBB stands for?
Yep. Bibbidi bobbidi.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. It's every little kiddo's dream, whether you want to be a knight or a princess. And it doesn't matter which. They're doing makeovers for kiddos ages 3 to 12. And you have to get an advanced reservation. There are no walk-ups. And you don't want to be in a position where you're walking with your kiddo past the boutique just beyond the castle. And they say, I want a makeover. And you walk up and you try to get on the list. It's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I challenge you to make this a little wider than just ADRs and to actually widen it up to be planning for dining? Because I think that it's also important to think about which quick services and what snacks you want to have. First of all, it's one of the funnest parts of planning is thinking about what you're going to eat.
I agree.
And second, it really is important because there are quick services that are super, super good. And then there's quick services that I'm like, okay, no, I never eat there. And there are quick services that have like full meals, like hot food, delicious. You're getting a side, you're getting, everything with the meal. And then there's quick services that are just like, just have a snack or just have drinks or whatever. And if you don't know kind of like, I'm going to be in this area, or even just this park, like I'd like to eat at these 2 quick services if I can. And I think that's going to make your experience so much better. So I think overall being like, how often do I want to have a sit down meal? And I recommend not having more than 1 per day because they do take quite a bit of your time up. And then what am I going to do for snacks and the other meals? And just having that very loosely planned in your mind is going to make your life so much better.
I also wanted to challenge to expand the dining to be just dining basics because I was thinking, does everybody know the difference between what is a quick service, what is a table service, what is mobile ordering? There's so many basic things that we as Disney regulars know and use on a regular basis that somebody who's never been there could feel overwhelmed by that.
So could I give 2 then at once and see what you think? Because I agree that all of everything you said is so important, both of you. But another one on my list, I actually separated the idea of ADRs and experiences from the idea of quick service. And I have another one on my list is mobile ordering and understanding what that is. Do you think it deserves 2 or do you think combining as one.
I think if we say overarching, like planning for dining, then we can put mobile ordering in that, quick services in that, and ADRs in that. I don't have a lot of space here. We gotta,
yeah. So we can combine ADRs with mobile ordering and say these are things that they require strategizing and they require understanding. I took a friend to Disney with me, and at the end of the trip, we had mobile ordered a lot in our app. So let's just touch on that since we're going to combine them. You open your My Disney Experience app, and if you filter your map, which I'm kind of treading into another one of my list here, to dining, you can actually navigate what areas are going to offer mobile ordering, and you can put your mobile order in. And something people don't realize is that some of the really popular ones, if you don't think ahead, like 2 hours, I'm talking, or even in the morning, and think, okay, we're going to want to eat lunch around 1 or 2. Let's go ahead and put in an order for that time. If you wait until you're hungry, you're going to be hangry because there's not going to be a mobile order time where you want it, and everything's going to have been filled up. You obviously aren't going to get a sit down because you didn't do an ADR. So dining in any respect is going to require pre-planning, whether it's mobile order or ADR. So my friend that I took, we had used Genie Plus and mobile order, and she was like, seriously, if I wasn't with you, we would not have ridden a single ride and we wouldn't have eaten. Like my family wouldn't have eaten. We don't know how to do anything you did. Like you just did it all for us. And so those are the two things you have to understand.
I was absolutely looking forward to having grilled cheese and tomato soup at Woody's Lunchbox one day. I popped on the app to try to order, and the soonest I could order was 3 hours after when I was standing there.
You guys, and a good thing to remember is that you can always push your order out. So if you order something in the morning, just thinking like, I know I want grilled cheese and tomato soup, I'm going to put that in. I think it's going to be around noon. We're going to be over there. And then as time is going on, even at like 10 or 11, you're seeing like it's going to be later that we make it over there. I really wish that was at 1. You can always go in there and say select new time, and just, it doesn't make you like cancel or reorder. You just like, it pops up with a bunch of other times that you could pick, and you can just scoot it over there. And I've also had success like booking whatever they have available and then trying to pull it forward. And sometimes spots come available like as I'm like, I don't really want to wait that long, but I'll go ahead and place the order. And then I'll keep on checking and try to pull it forward. And like sometimes it does work where I don't know if people are canceling or pushing things back, but then I'm able to drag mine forward. And you can completely cancel your order as well with no, like, it's not even going to charge you in refund. It's just going to say like, you have not been charged.
Yeah, totally. Those are the things: mobile ordering, understanding how you're going to get quick service, and then ADRs and understanding that that's how you pre-plan your sit down meals that you have to eat on your trip, and you're not going to enjoy what you eat as much if you don't know how to plan for it. All right. I feel great about that one. LJ.
I do too.
Is this
okay?
you?
My turn.
Yeah.
My turn. All right. I am going to say locations/transportation. I feel like it's really up in the air for a lot of people. They don't really, I actually want to share a story with you. I remember when I was a little tiny baby Disney newbie and people were raving about eating at Beaches and Cream. And I was like, I got to do this. Like people love it. And it's in it. Like there's so many good reasons. It's inexpensive. The food is amazing. It's like a whole experience. It has the ice cream, which is arguably some of the best ice cream on property. So I'm like, I got to do this. And I'm talking in the Facebook groups about like, what's the best way? When should I do this? And it's at Beach Club. People were saying, if you do it on your Epcot day, you can just walk over to Beach Club. And I just remember being like, is this true? Like, can you really do this?
Yeah.
And I feel like I didn't really believe. I like booked it on faith, but I was like, I feel like at some point somebody's going to be like, no, you need to, the Skyliner wasn't there or anything. So it was like, you're going to need to hop a bus. But sure enough, we walked over and we walked a little ways. And whole experience for me embodies like the idea of like, I know that's where first time Disney goers are, where they just do not have this like picture in their head of where everything is, that you can walk to these resorts from these parks, these restaurants are here. And we've talked a lot on this podcast about how complex it can be to choose the best form of transportation to get from one Disney location to another. And planning that ahead of time is going to save you so much time and frustration, because if you're in a hurry, you have a reservation and you're like also figuring out how to get there, it's just a recipe for like stress.
Yeah, you have to plan it ahead. This is like so obviously on the list. There's nothing worse than, let's say I have a family staying at Pop Century. Okay. And that's going to be on the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. They let me know that they want to go to Chef Mickey's on their Hollywood Studios day. I'm like, no, 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 no. This makes no sense. And
Nope.
to somebody that's never been to Disney, I probably sound crazy saying that. You know, why not? I want to eat with Mickey and the gang before I go to Hollywood Studios. You're going to be
Nope.
wasting half of your day. That doesn't make any sense. You have to go to Chef Mickey's before what park?
Magic Kingdom.
And you have to know that. You know, if you want to eat with Mickey before Hollywood Studios, you go to what restaurant? Topolino's. You ride the Skyliner over, then you go to Hollywood Studios. So you just have to know these things. What transportation gets you to what restaurant, towards what park, towards which resort. It's so vital to your trip.
Would I just be like beating a dead horse to say get a travel agent?
But if any episode it was time to just reiterate, like it's today,
like
because
your travel agent just knows that. Like just knows that. Just like your client was just like, this is what I want to do, and you were like, no, that's not gonna work. Like you can do it and I'll help you do it if that's like what you want to do. But this would be way better.
That's literally what I say. That's like what I say to families, that they'll send me their form and I'm like, okay, listen, I know you want to eat here, but can I just tell you why this is such a mistake? And every single time, 100% of the time, they're like, oh my gosh, thank goodness you told me that.
Yes.
I had no idea. I would have been flailing about. It's like, yeah, you have to know these things, transportation and how you're getting. And I know we're talking a lot about restaurants right now and people are like, well, how's that transportation? It is transportation. It is navigating, because you don't need your car, which we talked about on the transportation episode of this show. You don't need a car or anything else. Disney can get you from point A to point B. You just need to know what's the best way. Becki, you agree, right?
Yeah, and I almost feel like there's this overlap happening between locations and navigation, because locations, right? Just thinking through, the average person doesn't know what it means to be on the Skyliner route. The average person doesn't know what it means to be in the monorail loop, like all of those pieces. And I remember being a Disney newbie and feeling like I went to the boardwalk and walking around like, oh my gosh, am I going to be in trouble? I'm not staying here. Like, like all of those pieces went through my head as a newbie to Disney. And so for that purpose, I'm sure that people do as well. And then I also think knowing what the TTC is, and if you're coming from an off-site location and taking a shuttle, knowing you're going to get dropped off at the TTC and how are you going to get from there to anywhere else, like knowing location and transportation is vital.
And I love that you just said TTC, because I think that can be combined on this one probably, because it is did I say TCC? I meant TTC. That's confusing for listeners. TTC, the Tickets and Transportation Center, is sort of that central transportation location. If you're an on-site guest, you're likely not really going there.
You'll never see it. You won't see it.
Really
it doesn't exist.
Going there. Yeah. But for some travelers, it's important to know what that is. And I mean, when I stay at the Polynesian, I do end up there to grab sometimes the boat, or you have to switch monorail lines to Epcot there. So there's a very select few guests, depending on what your resort is, where you may see it. Other than that, you won't. But it's important, mostly for offsite guests, especially, to know what the TTC is, in addition to knowing how to navigate Disney transportation itself.
So I wrote location/transportation as our like official thing on our top 7, because I feel like that encompasses knowing where the thing is that you want to do, like being like, I want to do Chef Mickey's, and knowing like that's at Contemporary, and then further knowing that's next to Magic Kingdom.
Exactly.
And then further knowing that the monorail goes right through that building. So regardless of where I want to go after, I can jump on the monorail. So like not just locations, but also the transportation that goes along with it. So
that's great. That has to go on the list.
We're so efficient combining all of these things together.
I know we're being so creative right now. It's hilarious.
It's like there is so much, like, and this is literally why we have jobs. Like Disney is like, hey, we've created this amazing experience. Problem, it's complicated. So what are we going to do? I know. Let's get some people to just explain it all the time. And we'll pay those people to explain it to the people that are coming. And we're like, done, sold. Put me in that role.
Yeah, exactly. So we have 5 on our list, but we've combined a lot. And Becki, it's going to be your turn. A few of mine on my list have been combined, so I don't even have too many left. I want to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to start with Becki and keep building our list. Hey, Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast listeners. Have you joined our online communities yet? You can find us on Facebook and on Instagram at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast, where we're connecting daily with listeners, answering questions, and sharing our favorite Disney memories. Joining one of our communities, especially on Facebook, is like pulling up your own chair and joining the conversation yourself. Why let Tuesday be the only day you hear from us? Come join us to continue episode conversations, or maybe even tell us if you disagree with something we've said. We're planning trips, offering tips, and ready for you to pull up your chair. So follow the links in our show notes and join us at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast on Facebook and on Instagram. All right, we are back. We are building our top 7 bashful list ideas when planning a Disney trip. The things that make you the most bashful. Maybe you're intimidated by not knowing something or don't realize you don't know something. So far on our list, we have 5 things. Genie Plus, which will be lightning lanes, individual lightning lanes, and virtual queues, and their acronyms LL, ILL, and VQ. Things you need to know. Rider swap and single rider line utilization. Crowd avoidance strategies. ADR, advanced dining reservation, and experience with mobile ordering. And locations and transportation navigation, along with the TTC.
I have a proposition to make.
Yeah.
I think there's a case to be made to put Rider Switch in with Lightning Lane, Genie Plus, Virtual Queue. And we can just change that to be ways to skip the line.
Skipping the line is a good one. That's smart.
Then we're down to 4. We have 3 more spots. I'm a genius.
That's not a bad idea. That's not... Becki, let's hear what you have.
Well, listen, I have 4 things that have to be on the list, so something's going to have to go.
Love it. Okay, perfect.
So I am going to call this the Disney magic and understanding the Disney magic. Quote, magic, because magic hours, magic bands, like what is the Disney magic and understanding those things. I also want to include in there the magic makers, who are the cast members, and pixie dusting and all the things that is Disney magic.
That's such a clever one. That's not on my list, but it's so clever because magic bands, you have to know what that is. It literally simplifies your trip so much. A magic band is what you order before you arrive. It is your room key. It can be your credit card charges. It can be your park entry, your lightning lane access. It handles so much for you, and it allows you not to be having to whip out 100 different key cards, and credit cards while you're on your trip. And so, yeah, the consolidation of the magic band, understanding the magic in the sense of if you make your first stop upon arrival to get a celebration pin, whether that be at your resort desk or wherever they're giving them at the parks, each park has a separate location, and you write that you're celebrating, and you can be creative. You could be, I'm celebrating just being here today, and the cast members are so happy to celebrate with you, and you will get quote unquote pixie dusted. Sometimes you get a better table at your dining reservation. And I wouldn't expect these things all the time, but I mean, we've been rotated to the front of a line before, just because a cast member was celebrating with us. And so understanding where the Disney magic happens and how and where it lies, so great.
I actually vote to put that in the standby for a moment, and then let me talk out why.
Okay.
And that's because I want to say staying on site. I feel like that is something that you can easily get wrong if you're a newbie and you don't realize how important it is to stay on site. Like I didn't. I felt like I just wanted to go to Disney. And we've talked about this, my first 15 trips, I stayed off site. My 16th trip, I finally wised up and went and stayed at Port Orleans Riverside. And I was like, holy cow, there's so much more to this Disney experience than I ever thought there was. So much of what you said, like the magic bands and just understanding the cast members and the magic that happens, it has so much to do with being on site. So you're going to get your magic bands at a discount or free. Are some of them still free or no?
No.
None of them are free, but you do get a discount when you pre-order when you stay on site. Mm-hmm. I think also just like you're not going to miss the fact that they exist if you stay on site. Like if you are booked, you're going to get notice that you can buy your magic bands for at a discount. So I feel like staying on site like encompasses some of that, but you're not really on a Disney vacation if you're staying at the Marriott. You know, like it's a true Disney vacation when you're staying on site. You know, if anything goes wrong, that the Disney magic is going to kick in. They're going to take care of you. You're going to get your celebration buttons at check-in. Like, it's just like that experience from the get-go. What do you guys think?
Even just encompassing the bubble is also a part of the Disney magic would pull that into all together.
Yeah, I think understanding on-site perks is super important. And I explain it often to families I'm working with. And LJ, you're right that a lot of people just don't know. And it does include, the magic band and understanding how to use it. And so I'm okay with any way we want to spin this, truly, as long as they're both on there somehow, either combine or separate. But I think understanding on-site perks and how to use them, including extra hours in the parks and things like that, and also just knowing how to use the magic band. I don't know if it makes most sense to combine them or to keep them separate. I'll let you guys decide, but I do think they both have to be on there.
I agree. Both of those things are on my list. It's how do you combine them? I don't know, LJ, what do you think?
I think just saying like the magic of staying on site and everything that goes with it. Like so much of what you said is encompassed in staying on site. So
what if we called it staying in the magic?
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Staying in the magic.
Got it. Okay. That's what we'll do. Staying in the magic, on-site perks, including magic bands, extra hours, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that. Okay. So I think that's going to bring it to me. And I'm surprised that we haven't done this one yet. This is a really big one. We've talked about it a little bit because some of the things that we've talked about include it. But what about just My Disney Experience? The app that you have to use, if you don't understand the app, if you haven't downloaded the app, if you haven't played with the app ahead of arrival, you're going to be completely lost on your vacation.
When I'm on the bus and there's a sign that's like, download the Disney Parks app, I'm like, oh my gosh, if you are on the bus right now to Disney and this is the first time you're downloading the app, like my thoughts and prayers are with you.
Best of luck. So My Disney Experience is huge with information. I had somebody just ask me yesterday, I heard that their extended evening hours for deluxe guests aren't happening the month I'm traveling. Is that true? And I had not heard that. I did not believe that was true. Quick search in the My Disney Experience app at the park hours, and I was correct, confirmed. Here they are right here. You can see extended hours being honored. So you can see park hours, you can see ride wait times, you can find restaurant destinations, including which quick service spots you're going to be able to mobile order from. And then you're going to place your mobile order there. You are going to gain access to your lightning lanes through the app. I mean, it's everything. It's absolutely your entire trip.
I was just this past week at Disneyland Paris, and it was a little bit of a time warp for me where I was like able to like see what new people are feeling like, because I'm like, I don't know this location. I didn't do a great job like looking at the maps beforehand. So I didn't know where everything was. I had a list of like the rides I wanted to do because we don't have like the equivalent in our parks in the United States. So I was starting the night before looking at maps and being like, how am I going to travel around? I got to tell you that the My Disney Experience app for Disneyland Paris was like my lifeline. I do have the fundamental understanding of like how ours works here. So I was able to just like replicate that, and a few things were different, but for the most part, like the maps and like the lines and just figuring out where to eat, like everything is there. If we were to say there's only one thing that you can get right on this list, I feel like it's probably MDE. Because if you get that right, there's so many things that you can get correct based on your usage of the My Disney Experience app.
Yeah, and without MDE, you're flailing.
Nothing is going to work. Nothing is going to work at all.
Well, and I think a lot of people also overlook the little search feature that you can just type something in, and the app is pretty intuitive to really help support anything you're needing help on.
That's exactly it. So if I can't find something, or if I forget, I mean, I'm in the My Disney Experience app every single day, even if I'm not on a trip, because I'm helping other families with theirs. So I know my way around it really well. But if I forget where something is or how to access something, you can just click that magnifying glass, just like you said, Becki, search it. You're going to navigate right to where you need to be. And the map that you can filter it to characters.
Mm-hmm.
You can filter it to wait times. You can filter it to dining. You can filter it to restrooms,
Yep.
And people don't know that, you have to, Disney has a lot of restrooms, but and I know where all of them are, but if you've never been and your little one has to go and you can't find a cast member, I mean, just filter and it's going to pop up for you and you're going to know right where to go. So playing with the app ahead of time, knowing what features it offers and how to find them, absolutely crucial.
I often have people panic when they're looking at MDE or My Disney Experience, because up until your trip, everything is future plans, right? My future plans in your app, in that little, I call it a hamburger, the menu. That's where you're looking at everything, your ADRs, your bippity boppity boutique, all of the things are there. And then when the day comes, it's gone. It's no longer in my future plans. It now moves to My Disney Day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like, oh, where did it go to?
Disney's like tricking you.
Yeah, the amount of 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. texts that I get that are like, oh my gosh, my park reservations are gone and my breakfast with Lilo and Stitch is gone. And I'm like, it's not gone.
It's right
This
there.
is where it is. Yeah. And so knowing those things so you don't have a heart attack on your trip, so important. That is everything on my list because we combined so many and because we all agreed. So I'm excited to hear what else y'all have because mine have all made it.
Okay, I have one more that I feel like is a big one. And that's the cost. Like going into it, I feel like on the one hand, what I hear from the public constantly is that Disney trips cost $7 grand, $8 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand. And so from that aspect, I feel like they're ruining their Disney trip by thinking it's impossible. We book trips that are that much. That's, how the other half live. The huge majority of trips that we book are actually more like in the 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 range.
Absolutely.
And so I think like the best way to completely ruin your Disney trip is to think that it's out of reach for you, or even to say, I can only do value. You might only be able to spend just a couple hundred more to stay moderate. And you might only be a few hundred more to stay deluxe, and to not like look into that for yourself. Some of them are extremely reasonably priced. There are things out there that I'm like, oh, whoa, that's expensive. But there are things like the fireworks cruise is one that comes to mind. That's, I think it's like around $300-400. It is simply like my favorite way to watch the fireworks. Being out on the water, and I feel like I really didn't even understand the whole show in its entirety until I was out on the water watching that. I would have definitely thought that that was outside of my price range. And it wasn't until one of my agents was like, we should do this. To take that a step further, thinking that you can't stay on site, like thinking that you're going to stay off site because you're going to save some money, but not calculating the extra costs that are going to go into that. So like your transportation to the parks, your resort fee, your parking fee at the resort, your, like if you're renting a car, you're going to pay parking at the parks. Like I had made that mistake before I was really good at this, where I actually paid more to stay in a crappier place off site than what I would have paid if I understood all the things that are included and just stayed, at a value resort on site. Mm-hmm. So just doing the math, making good decisions, pre-planning. And I love having the money already paid for up front. That's one reason why I love the dining plan. I also love getting Disney gift cards because it doesn't feel like in the moment, like I'm losing something. Like I can buy the $10, $15, $20, like bubble wand or whatever it is that's really going to change my kids' experience. But I already know I planned for this expense. It's covered. I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah, I think you made a good case for that. And just saying cost and what a Disney budget includes. A lot of people don't know what a Disney budget actually includes. What does that number cover and what else am I going to have to account for? So I think that kind of goes hand in hand. And before we just put it on the list, because we're kind of down to one spot, unless we knock one out, I want to hear what Becki has left.
Okay. So I have a couple things that I'm like, how can I combine these or connect these? So one of them is what you're going to be planning to wear. My original thought was Disney bounding because Disney bounding is very much a thing in parks. Do you need to Disney bound in order to have a successful trip? Absolutely not. But will you see it every park you go to? Absolutely. And then thinking through, are we doing matching t-shirts? Like, what are we looking like? Because Disney bounding is different than having matching t-shirts. And so all of the parts of planning for what you're going to wear to the park, and then how those things pair with how we're getting pictures taken in the park, with what are the walls of Disney. Like, those are the basics, things that people that are Disney experts know and they'll refer to, but you probably wouldn't know. And then all of that also comes to, and it maybe pairs with what LJ was just saying about knowing what to expect and how much things cost. Like, when you're going, you're probably going to be buying souvenirs. And what are those go-to souvenirs that you're going to see everywhere? Like Loungefly bags, you're going to see them everywhere. Spirit jerseys, you're going to see them everywhere. How expensive are they? Are they something that we are planning for, or is that something we're leaving off of our conversation and just knowing we're not going to invest that kind of money there? Those were the other two big things that I had on my list, but I don't know that they're a requirement or where they fit in this conversation.
I have a funny story, actually. So, and I'll give you my opinion on what I think we should do to round out our list. So we were on our Disney trip, and my family, it's been known by, I mean, everybody says it, all of our friends, all of our family, we're over the top. We just are. Like, on Memorial Day, my kids wear these really matchy red, white, and blue outfits. And LJ, you actually commented, this is what two moms does.
Yes. I'm like, my husband is useless for this. He's not picking out the Memorial Day outfits for sure.
And most people don't have them, but my family does. You know, it is what it is. And so we are over the top. And before every Disney trip, we really plan our outfits. We just do. And we get so excited. My kids at this point get excited. What are we wearing? Who are we being this time? And one of our trips, this was like right when Park Pass reservations started. So is pretty soon after the reopening from the pandemic. And we, for Hollywood Studios, my kids had a Forky outfit, a Buzz Lightyear, and a Rex. And then my wife and I had Toy Story shirts. And so we were all being Toy Story. So you can guess what park we were going to. It was Hollywood
Studios.
Correct. You're going to Hollywood Studios because Toy Story Land is there. And my parents drove down to surprise us. Well, they didn't know that there were Park Pass reservations, and I didn't know they were coming. And so they just were like, well, we need to buy a ticket and go with you. I was like, oh my gosh. Well, it doesn't work that way. We can't do that. Oh my goodness. And Park Pass reservations were brand new. I spent 2 hours at the desk at our resort. You would not do that now. This was just specifically for that time. I spent a really long time at the desk. This cast member, it was his last day of work. He was retiring. And I swear, his last person he ever helped. And I was like, please, can you help my parents get into Hollywood Studios? And the answer was no. They can't get in. You're not going there. But you can go to Animal Kingdom. And me being that was just the worst case scenario. I mean, I changed my t-shirt on the bus on the way to a different park. You know, like, I wore a Tower of Terror shirt to Epcot with LJ, with you actually on a recent trip. And I was like, cover my shirt. I cannot wear this in front of Spaceship Earth. And it just is important to me. And I was like, we can't go to Animal Kingdom dressed like Forky. This just doesn't make sense. I was so stressed about it. And so for me, that's a thing that I stress about. We did, just to round out the story, make it to Hollywood Studios. Park Pass actually ended up opening up the next morning. I went back to the desk and I was like, is there happen to be anything open? And they were like, yeah, actually there are something open. And we got to go to Hollywood Studios, which was my dad's favorite park anyway. But that's something that means a lot to me. You know, I try to make sure what characters are in each park, make sure we're dressed that way. I make sure I change my own outfit, but most people look at me like I am adding way more stress than needs to be added. So is it a make or break for a trip? No, it's not.
No.
So when I'm thinking about make or break things that you need to know, probably cost and what a Disney budget includes, which really does, Becki, include your souvenir strategy type thing. I think that makes a little more sense for the list.
I agree.
I agree as well. But, you know, just to take it, the conversation of what to wear a little bit further, like, I am not I do like to wear the right shirt for the right park. And I always, like, for our rewards trips, I'm always looking, like, I let the agents pick where we're going. So I always look where they picked, and I'm like picking out my outfits and putting them in aside so that I can wear the right shirt to the right park. And I do that with my kids as well. But I want you guys to know that our first timers or second timers or third timers or 15 timers, like, that's not important. You're going to see not only not wearing, like, coordinating shirts, but not even wearing Mickey. I've looked at this and I've been like, for every one person wearing Mickey, there's going to probably be two wearing, like, a plain Adidas shirt or something like that. Like,
and probably 3 wearing Harry Potter.
Yeah. That's right. They do get confused about what's at which parks. If you're out there and this is not part of your trip yet, don't worry about it. We're indoctrinating you. You will become a Disney adult. You are going to get there. But right now, you don't have to worry about that. What I would rather that you thought about as you planned in relationship to clothes is like support in your shoes, like appropriate, like warmth, like dress in layers, because it can be cooler in the mornings
in the winter.
Yes, and then it can be cooler in the evenings, and then like in the middle of the day you're going to want to be in your swimsuit almost. But like, so wearing shorts and a t-shirt as your base layer, and then having a sweatshirt, and always having rain gear. Those are the things that to me are like, those can really impact, like, it's not going to impact your trip if you don't wear a Mickey shirt, but if you don't have an umbrella and it's pouring down rain, that is going to impact you. So my vote is for cost and just like planning for those things.
Knowing what it is. Yeah, knowing what your Disney budget is. Like, your package is one thing, and here's what it covers, and here are the additional things you may want, and knowing how to strategize that is so important. And, you know, another honorable mention that doesn't need to necessarily make the list, but I was thinking of it when you were just talking, LJ, is knowing how to pack your park bag. What goes in it, you know, like your water bottle goes in it, your your external charger, battery, you know, battery pack, if your phone is going to die, you need that. Your rain gear goes in it. Things like that. Knowing how to pack your park bag would be probably the next one I would put on my list.
Do we have a what's in your park bag episode?
No, but
I feel like we need one.
Yeah, we need one. I think we just planned it. It's coming.
Okay, let's do it.
So I think I feel really good about that. I mean, I do want to take one more quick break because I have a fun lightning lane I want to do at the end of the episode, and we'll recap our list when we come back.
Hey, it's Becki from Smart Moms Podcast. So you keep hearing this word, Disney bounding, but maybe you don't know quite what it means. Or maybe you're already a Disney bounder and love showcasing your Disney fandom in the parks. Either way, come join us on Facebook at the Disney Bounding Community by Smart Moms Travel. We play games, plan outfits, do giveaways and challenges, and support each other in adding just a little bit of pixie dust to both your Disney vacations as well as your day-to-day. Find the link in the show notes, and I hope to see you soon in the Disney Bounding Community Facebook group.
Hey there, friends. I'm Katie Boone, one of your podcast co-hosts. I'd love to invite you to join my Facebook Disney planning community called Planning Disney with Babies, Toddlers, and Preschoolers. In my group, I love discussing all the aspects of planning your magical vacation with little ones. Find my community at facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. Again, that's facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. When you join, don't forget to tell me you heard about my group on the podcast. See you there.
Okay, we are back. We are going to recap our list, and then we are going to play a fun round of Lightning Lane. Top 7 bashfulest things that you need to know, things you may not know or embarrassed to ask ahead of your Disney trip that honestly could make or break the time you are going to have. We have avoid the line using Genie Plus, Lightning Lane, individual Lightning Lane, virtual queue, rider swap, and single rider. All of those things mean something different. Crowd avoidance, what that means and how to strategize for it. ADR, advanced dining reservations and experiences, and mobile ordering your quick service. And I want to say too, in terms of enchanting extras and experiences, just knowing what's offered. You know, did you know you could dive with the fish at Epcot? You know, there are things like that. You can feed the elephants and experience things like that at Animal Kingdom. There are so many experiences at Disney World that you don't know about. Things even like the dessert cruise, LJ, that you were saying. So caring for giants and things like that, you want to make sure you are well educated ahead of your experiences day, because there's more than just the Bibbidi Boppity Boutique, which is also great. Locations and transportation navigation, along with the TTC. Staying in the magic. Understanding on-site perks, including using your Magic Band and extra park hours. MDE, the My Disney Experience app. And finally, cost and what a Disney budget includes. I think you know those 7 things, along with our honorable mention, know how to pack a park bag. Then we're golden. You're going to have a really, really good time.
I agree. I feel like we nailed it. Like if there was a new person that's just about to go to Disney and they were like, what do I need to know? I feel great about, if you know these 7 things, you're going to have a fabulous trip. Or you can just get a travel agent because they know these 7 things and 10 more things, and they can help you with everything.
And if we're having people finding this particular episode, looking for the basics of what I need to be successful, like listen to these, see what things you need further dives on. And we have an episode for pretty much every one of these.
Okay, I have a fun version of Lightning Lane we're going to do. If you are in any Disney planning communities, people use acronyms like crazy, and everybody just knows what they mean. So we're going to do a Lightning Lane. I'm going to give you an acronym. You tell me if you know what it stands for.
Oh gosh, I feel like you're putting us on the spot.
I know, I love it. I think it's great. Okay, LJ, I'm going to start with you then and really get you on the spot.
Gosh, okay,
Okay, you ready?
Here we go.
ROTR.
Rise of the Resistance.
Nailed it.
Took me a second. Took me a second.
You have to get your brain warm for these things, right?
It's so good. Okay, Becki, MMRR.
Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
So good. LJ, here's an easy one. Are you ready?
Oh, yes. Give me an easy one.
7DMT.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Okay. Becki, RNR.
Rock and Roller Coaster. That's a weird one because why is it
It
an N? Rockin' is one word at this point, but that's what
really
people
hard.
call it. R&R.
No. They put, like, if you look at how it actually is, they put an N. It's
just an N? I need to pay better attention.
And then like a little like comma thing, and then apostrophe, and then N, and then another apostrophe because they're like taking out the I and the G.
You are so right. You are so right. I'm envisioning it now, and it is. It's Rockin' Roller Coaster. You're right.
Yeah, so I look at that as RNR. Yeah.
RNR.
Okay, LJ, SDD.
SDD.
You've got this one.
Man, they're so
popular coaster for kids.
SDD.
Maybe you would not.
Slinky Dog Dash. Dog Dash. Maybe I would name my dang dog after it.
I know. I was going to say, that's what literally was coming out of my mouth. Maybe you know someone by this name. Okay. Becki, TOT.
Your favorite ride in all of Disney, Tower of Terror.
Nailed it. And I love the nod to me. Tower of Terror. LJ, BBB.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique.
Becki, HM.
Oh, my daughter's favorite ride, Haunted Mansion.
LJ, CRT.
Cinderella's Royal Table.
Ooh, I switched it up. Went to a restaurant. You got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And last one I have is Becki, BOG.
Be Our Guest.
You nailed it. We'll have to put those on our social medias as well because nobody should be in the dark on what SDD stands for.
I wonder if we could have an entire conversation using Disney acronyms. Like I'm going to get my ADR for CRT and then go right.
Before my LL. Yeah, before my LL. That's so funny. ADR for CRT before my LL for HM.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, that was so fun. I feel like we were super helpful in this episode, and I'm so excited for everyone to have a better trip and experience because they know these things now. All right. Thank you, ladies. That was great. That's going to do it for us on another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. As always, if you are planning, looking at planning, or ready to start planning again, and you don't already have a Smart Moms travel agent, be sure to check out the link in our bio or our show notes to get connected with a free Smart Moms travel agent. Along with that link, be sure to find our dopiest form where you can share your dopiest mistake with us, become part of the conversation, part of the episode when we do our mailbag in just a couple of weeks. Make sure you are following us and subscribed everywhere you get your podcasts and on social media platforms. Just bibbidi boppity that boutique. Make sure you get our episodes delivered to you right when they drop. Every Wednesday, be sure to join us for the Happily Ever After show inside our Facebook group at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast. And until next time, we will see you real soon.